right. Well, Jason, thanks
Welcome.
for finally sitting down. Like, this has taken a little bit of work in
know.
the last couple of weeks to maybe a little longer, in the last couple of months to try to bring us to this point of defining that we are starting this podcast and finally sitting down and talk about it.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. And what
Leading a Serving Podcast.
I love that
Doesn't
name.
that sound amazing?
I do.
We're going to lean into that, right?
Yeah. So, Jason, we're new.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you. Tell me about you. I know you, but tell me about you.
Well, my name's Jason Kemp. I've been living here in Indiana for about 9 years. Before that, I grew up in the Southwest in New Mexico, a short stint in Texas, and 12 years in Colorado. I'm new to the Midwest, still trying to get used to just a little bit different vibe and different culture. I love it. We love it over here. But yeah, I'm married a little over 25 years. We've got 5 kids. 2 are out of the home. One works full-time for one of your businesses, which is
yes, he does.
Which is a joy.
He's a rock star.
Love it. And a daughter in college. Then I've got 2 high school sophomores here locally. And then we've got a 5-year-old that we adopted a number of years ago, medically fragile, and then we also do some foster care. So we've got a 6 kiddo in the home at the moment. We're just hoping for sleep.
You're a busy guy.
My wife is a rock star. Let's just.
That's awesome.
Maybe she's the one we need to put on a podcast.
Okay, his wife
put it that
is
way.
definitely a rock star.
Yeah. I just get lucky to ride on her coattails. So
There you go.
Well, tell us about you, Chris.
So my name is Chris, and I actually, funny thing is I'm a transplant too. I just never put those 2 and 2 together.
Oh, okay.
Everybody thinks so. So you've been in Indiana all your life? Nope, I actually have not. I'm from New Jersey. Moved out here when I was 12, so I'm kind of on the verge of almost calling myself a Hoosier.
Yeah.
So I have married to my wonderful wife, who's a rock star as well.
Yes, she is.
And I am thankful for her. And I have 2 daughters. One's a freshman and one's a 7th grader. And they, too, are rock stars in their own place and just navigating life and just growing and trying to learn new stuff.
Never bored, are we?
Never. I'm just trying to keep up with life is just a whole new facet this year. And even after the pandemic, I had a little bit of a break during the pandemic.
Right.
And that was nice.
Yeah.
Now it's not, because now I'm just running nonstop again.
There you go. So why start a podcast, man?
That's a great
what
question.
Prompted that for you?
Am I supposed to answer that, or you?
I'm going to put you on the hot seat first.
Okay.
Go for it.
I'm super excited about it. I got to tell you, it is just a joy to be connected to so many great leaders in our community and outside of our community, because there's many people that I know that are outside of our community. Mm-hmm. But just the way they do leadership and how they serve their employees, their customers, the people in their church, or the people that they're connected to in nonprofits or for-profits, it flows through them no matter where they're at, which is just an amazing thing. And so I'm super excited about using this opportunity as a podcast to sharing that with others to try to help them, empower them to learn from what we've learned, as well as help us to learn more. I mean, I just got this feeling that we're not done learning, and we've got a lot more to learn.
I'm with you on that.
And a lot more to. I'm looking forward to affecting more people, and as my life goes on, for the betterment of leading is serving, because I truly think that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. I love that. I just love the concept behind that. If we're fighting for the highest good of someone else, that if I am out for making sure that my friend Chris Wood is, living at the top of his game, healthy, his family's doing well, and I can pour myself into you, that is a form of leadership, that you turn around and you've got my back.
Right.
Too.
Completely agree.
And so that's why we're calling it the Leading and Serving Podcast, is because that's what we want to highlight in our community is the people, the organizations, the teams, the businesses that are fighting for the highest good of our community.
Right.
I mean, it's not about the bottom line for us.
It's not about the bottom line for us. It is a bigger picture thing, and that is just one small facet. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important. but it is not the only facet of business. And it is, I hope to make sure that that comes through in what we're trying to do today.
Absolutely.
And future podcasts.
Yeah. And, I come from a nonprofit background. I've been in nonprofit leadership for over 20 years. I'm jumping into some for-profit ventures currently. And you're coming from the for-profit world. And we're actually going to talk about that, I think, in our interview coming up here in a few minutes, about how for-profit and nonprofit have had different goals, but when it's for the community, in both of those realms, that our world is better.
Right.
The communities that we live in benefit.
And it truly did. And then I'm sure JC, I'm super excited about talking to him today, is, it doesn't matter which side of that fence you're on. Those are both different avenues to be able to affect the community in a great way.
Yeah. When people are our focus.
Right.
When other people are our focus, and the bottom line, that's we all win. We all win. And
this is so true.
And that's what we want out of this podcast, is to bring some resources, some connection, some development, ways of thinking about business, ways of thinking about leadership.
Right.
That put us in a different space, because COVID's been a world changer, game changer.
Oh my goodness.
It's caused us to look at things completely different.
I completely agree. And both negative and positive, right? I mean, at some level, it's not always been, there's a lot of people that have gone along through a lot of negative as well, but there's been some positive as well. And we got to try to help balance that out. And this is just a great opportunity for people to share their experiences and be able to help us balance that out.
Yeah. So each week on the podcast, we hope you'll tune in. We'll be bringing some thoughts around leadership, around what it means to lead our businesses, our families, in each circle of our influence.
Correct.
But also we're interviewing. We're starting locally with some of the people that have impacted our lives, that are out for the highest good of others and their community. And we'll hope to bring tidbits for you that hopefully will challenge you, push you further in how you think about business and what we're doing in life. So tell us about this first interview, Chris. I think this guy's going to be a good one, right?
Super excited about this. His name is JC Wogomon. He is an insurance. He owns an insurance company, rock star, and he is super passionate about our community. And it overflows out of him, and it's just super exciting to listen to his passion and listen about the things that he's gone through and where he's at today, and how things have changed for him. So I am super excited about him. So let's
make the jump. Here we
go. Sounds good.
Well, welcome. We're here with JC Wogomon, and it's a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to diving a little bit more in your story and learning about leadership and kind of who you are and what makes you tick, man. So
awesome.
Glad you're here this morning.
I'm glad to be here.
So you've been around here the south side of Indianapolis for a few years.
Yep.
But who's your native? Is that right?
Yeah, I was born and raised up in northern Indiana, in the Syracuse, Wawasee area, and graduated from Wawasee High School. And then from there went on to Ball State University. And after Ball State, got into the insurance business, and they said, hey, pack up your stuff. You're moving to Lafayette, Indiana. So lived there.
Muncie to Lafayette, huh?
Yeah, well, there was a short stint in southern Minnesota for 9 months, but after that, they said...
Can you even count it since it was only 9 months, I guess?
Yeah, right? Hey, a lot can happen in 9 months.
That's true. That is true. So married and a couple kids, right?
Yeah, so I met my wife at Ball State, and we kind of met our sophomore years, and then we're just friends all through college until the timing was right, and part of a bigger plan, I guess you could say. And then started dating my senior year and got married in 2004. So we've been married 17 years, which is crazy to say that out loud.
Right.
And,
it is.
So we got 2 kids. I got my son Aiden, who's 11 and a half, and my daughter Ellie, who is 8, just turned 8. So
very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, outside of family and work and everything, what makes you tick? Who is JC behind the curtain?
I'm a complicated individual. Just ask my wife.
We're with you on that.
So, I go back through my life and my story, and I can't tell you about where I'm at today without telling you where I've been. And my story goes back to when I was 10 years old. When I was 10 years old, my dad unexpectedly passed away very suddenly, leaving just my mom and I. And fast forward, when I was 14, we were homeless, found ourselves living on people's couches in our community. Good people out there, great people out there were willing to take us in for a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. But I decided at that point in time that wasn't going to be my story. I worked my butt off, got a full ride scholarship to go to Ball State, and off to Ball State I went, leaving that life behind as fast and as far in my rearview mirror as I could. And so at Ball State, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. When I was in high school, I was the kid that was setting up fundraisers at the local grocery store, selling coupon books, or going door to door selling Boy Scout popcorn or pickles or whatever the fundraiser of the week was. I always wanted to try to be number one at that. So I knew it would be sales related of some sort. And so I started down the business path and marketing and sales path. And then somebody came to me when I was 19 years old, 20 years old, and said, "Hey, have you ever met an old, poor insurance guy?" So I thought about it. I said, "Well, no, actually, no, I never have." And when you're coming from poverty and homelessness and somebody throws that at you when you're 19 and 20, I jumped all over that. And so I decided to go into the insurance business. So I graduated from Ball State. Moved up to Minnesota for 9 months of training, and that's when they moved me back to Lafayette, Indiana after that. And so I started my insurance career there. And I did really, really well for myself, better than I ever thought I would, to be honest with you. And so I started making money hand over fist, and I spent it as fast as I could make it because, when you don't have something and then all of a sudden you have it abundantly, right? I didn't have any type of spiritual guidance in my life at the time. I was very selfish, ask my wife, very self-centered, and because I was out to prove something, right? And so when the market changed in 2008, I lost over $100,000 a year in income. And I've often heard, "Get on your knees or God will put you there." And so I was humbled very, very quickly. I didn't like who I'd become. God showed me that you become somebody who had fallen in love with money. And it had kind of been my God, essentially. And so I didn't like who I had became, and so I was looking for something different. I stayed in insurance for another couple of years, even switched insurance companies, went to work for an independent insurance agency. Bad fit, and I got to the point where I'm just like, you know what, I'm done with this. I don't want to do insurance anymore. It just was too painful for me because I'd worked really, really hard, done really well, built it up, and in a matter of no fault of my own, it had disappeared. And then on top of that, I didn't like who I had become in that process. So got out of insurance completely. I let my licenses lapse. I didn't want anything to do with insurance. Marketed a travel company for 5 years, had a heck of a lot of fun, didn't make enough money. And then that was the time my family and I moved down here to south side of Indianapolis, where she grew up around here. All of her family's around here, and with the great schools, our kid approaching school age, we decided to move down here. And so I went to work for an equipment rental company in sales. Did that for a couple of years. Then it was like going to school. It was like going to work every day at a high school locker room. Just rough crowd. And I just, it was fun for a while, but not every day. Mm-hmm. And so a friend of mine said, "Hey, I've partnered with this entrepreneur. We're starting a business. We could really use a sales guy." I'm like, I don't know what we're selling, but it's better than what I'm doing now. So went to work for them, and I was promised a bunch of things, and the ownership never delivered on those things. And so, I didn't really receive any training in an industry I knew nothing about. So, but the line was drawn when they were asking me to do things that I don't operate that way. I was asked to lie, to cheat, to deceive customers, and I never had to do that to be successful, and I wasn't about to start now.
Right.
And so, the straw that broke the camel's back was when he says, "I really think you're spending way too much time with your kids and doing kids' activities. I need you at the office more."
Wow.
And that's when the wheels started turning and started formulating some business ideas. And I've always wanted to own my own business. And so came home, talked about it with my wife, and we started coming up with ideas. And she's like, well, what about insurance? Again, you were a really good insurance agent. I'm like, no way. I'm not doing that again. Get away from me with that. And one day we're sitting in church and our pastor's giving a sermon, just, if you can accomplish your dreams without God's help, then they really aren't big enough. And so it was like a lightning rod through my soul. I knew what I was supposed to do. So I decided to open up an insurance agency again. I had to go get licensed and all of that stuff, but my insurance agency wasn't going to be about padding my pockets like it was when I was in insurance the first time. I said, what if we can use insurance and just alter our model just a little bit to where we can take a portion of everything that we're doing, reinvest it back in our community to impact our community through insurance? Because insurance is something everybody has to have, right?
Right.
And we sell you something we hope you never use. That's not fun. When I'm out trying to recruit people to come work for me, they will often say, oh, JC, insurance might be your thing. It's not my thing, though. I'm like, you think insurance is my thing? So insurance is just a vehicle. It's a vehicle that enables me to make a big impact in our community. So what we do is we'll partner with nonprofits each and every month. We'll promote them through our proposals. We'll promote them in our conversations. And then at the end of the month, we come alongside them and we give them a portion of our revenue to help support that agency. We support two types of organizations that either elevate the human condition, meaning help feed, clothe, or educate people. And then we help organizations that support our military veterans and first responders, such as police and fire. Two groups of people that I'm very, very, very passionate about helping. So that's, that idea started 2 years ago. And since then, we've contributed back almost $20,000 back to our community in those 2 years.
Congrats,
And
that's awesome.
That's amazing.
people ask me all the time, JC, how's it going? How you doing? I'm like, I gave back $20,000 to our community, man. It's fantastic.
Right.
I don't even know how else to answer it. So that's kind of full circle how we got where we're at today, and things are moving along, and it's been an incredible ride.
I love that you measure success not by the bottom line, but how much outflow into the community.
Well, that was our mission.
It's beautiful.
We didn't have a net income mission. We had a community impact mission.
That's
and
awesome.
A lot of people, they'll say, JC, that's kind of silly, man. You need to focus on growing your business. I said, look, if I put first things first, everything else will fall into place. And
Absolutely.
it's a big case study in walking in blind faith.
We hear lots of nuggets of wisdom dripping from everything you've said in the last couple of minutes, but what is the overarching principle for you? What is the value that you live life by?
I love to have fun. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a joker. I'm an entertainer. I like to have a good time, and so those are the things that are very important to me. But when it comes to guiding principles, it's always do the right thing. There's no shortcut in life, and I've seen people, and you see them, and you see their lives in chaos all the time. And I'm sure you could think through your life, right, of all the different people that you've had, and you can see the chaos that's in their lives. And then you start looking at some of the decisions they make, and it almost always boils down to they're trying to take a shortcut somewhere or multiple different places. And so just do the right thing, be honest with people, be transparent with people. Let's lay all the cards out. You and I are trying to do business together. Let's lay the cards out. Here's what it is. And we either want to move forward or we don't. And, that is just honesty, honoring God in everything we do. And then on top of that, my other guiding principle is time will expose you or promote you. So you can fool people for a while. Some people are good at fooling people for a long while. Right. But at the end of the day, it will catch up with you. People will find out the truth. And you can't lie forever.
Yeah.
That is some great wisdom. It's amazing how I know in my younger years, like there was a time where you thought you could try to shortcut things that you thought would probably take you farther or get you somewhere. But at the end of the day, it's just going through that process and making sure that you're doing the right things at the right times. So what is an accidental value that you've stumbled upon in this time that you've been in business that's made a huge difference for you?
I kind of had fun thinking about this question, and to be honest with you, it's embracing failure, and instead of running away from it, run towards it. And people think that that's crazy, right? The younger me would have thought that's crazy. But it's the lessons that you learn through that failure that, ultimately put you to success. I mean, success isn't rocket science, okay? It's nothing more than a system of course corrections over the period of your life. You try something, it didn't work, and you change course a little bit, you learn from it and try something else. And it's just this constant back and forth until, you ultimately get to where you want to go. And mediocrity will kill more dreams, or complacency will kill more dreams than failure ever will. And so I'm never satisfied. No matter how much I improve, I'm never done. And there's always another level. And those are some of the guiding principles that have kind of taken me from a leadership perspective, from a learning perspective. But don't fear failure.
And it's definitely something that we've, as a society, struggle with. Like everybody wants to do everything right so they succeed. But if they don't fail, it's harder to succeed.
Oh, early on in my professional career, I ran away from failure at the cost of success. Like I was so scared of failing that I wouldn't put myself in a position to fail, which that just delays your learning, which delays your growth, which delays your success.
Right. So if running toward failure is a value that you've stumbled upon in life, would you mind sharing one of the failures that you've walked through in life, going, all right, this is hard, but the lessons you learned from that became invaluable?
People ask me, what failures have you had that have really had an impact? And, I look back through my life and I look through the situations I've been through, the stories I've been through, the trials and tribulations, and people always ask me, do you wish you would have not gone through those? I said, absolutely not. I'm glad, because I like the direction my life's heading. I like the direction my business is heading. I like who I've become. I like the family, where we're at with our family. There's so many things I love about my life, and it wouldn't be possible had I not gone through those failures and those situations. Would I want to do it again? No. I would definitely, but I'm grateful that I did, so I don't regret it one bit. I don't remember specific failures, I learn from them and move on. I try not to dwell in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think there's a T-shirt maybe down the road of complacency is the great dream killer, not failure.
Oh yeah,
that was good.
That's a good one.
I love that, because that's something that I've struggled with in my life. Is I've always I love learning new things, and so I jump into something about the time that I kind of get a handle on it. I'm like, all right, what's next? And just striving for that next level has always been a little bit elusive for me at times, and complacency is kind of defined.
I don't believe in the phrase good enough.
Yeah.
I'm always grateful but never content.
And as a business owner, it's hard not to, you tell me, in your experience, do you think that if you'd have got complacent at any one of these points, would you think you'd be where you're at? Like, would you say you have to constantly strive for learning more?
Well, as an individual, I believe that we're all called to be good stewards, right? And a lot of times stewardship is connected with money. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I think that's just a byproduct of good stewardship, to be honest with you. We're called to be stewards of good talents and abilities. And there's so much more in me, even at this point in my life, that I'm not even aware of what I'm capable of. And if I want to be, when this is all said and done, I want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant, right? And so, but I can't just say, nah, I'm good. I'm good enough. This is good. Let's just ride it out from here. It's not my DNA. Drives my wife nuts because she loves routine. She loves being comfortable, and that's her. That's her gift. And she balances me, which is a good thing. She's a yin to my yang sometimes, most of the time. But for me, I can't live in a place of contentment. And people say that robs me of peace. Peace for me is different, I guess.
Well, by all intents and purposes, you achieved a level in the insurance agency business early on that you had what a lot of people would say are the ingredients to bring peace, and it didn't bring peace.
Right? No, not at all. Because there's more to life than money.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so what do you see? As you encounter, whether it's in the business world or just life in general, what do you see in other people that they underestimate that you wish, if we just kind of got this right, things would move a little smoother in life?
I think as human beings, one of our inherent flaws is the path of least resistance. So people will always underestimate the amount of work that it takes to get something done. Just as a homeowner, I think I can get something done in a weekend, and 6 weeks later, I'm still working on it. Right? But as human beings, we always underestimate the amount of effort that it's going to take, the amount of time something's going to take to get something done. And so you kind of, whether it be in business, in your relationships, in life, I just believe that you gotta, it's so much more effort than what you realize, because things are going to go wrong. Grant Cardone wrote a great book called 10X. He talks a lot about that. The reason most people fail is they don't have a contingency plan, right? They strategically plan everything out that if I do this, and this, I'll get this done right at the last minute, right? I'm going to put in the minimal effort to get the maximum results. But what if X happens? What if Y happens? What if you don't get this deal that you're counting on? I will admit I've done that multiple times in my life. And so you just underestimate the amount of effort it's going to take to get you where you want to go. Because there's no extra in that, right? If you're just putting in the bare minimum and something goes wrong, now you're way off track.
Right. Yeah, Ace Ventura, you ever seen that movie? The scene where he's in the car trying to get it to start, and the guy's coming around with the bat, and he looks in the mirror, it says objects in the mirror closer than they appear. I feel like that's how I've lived life, going, oh yeah, I can totally refloor the living room and kitchen and dining room in a weekend, and then I end up calling Chris. I would imagine that people listening to this are sitting in a similar place. We've got the great resignation going on in our culture. People are resigning their jobs in the droves at the moment, and it can't be far off of most people's thoughts of, if I make some few tweaks to the things I know, I could really impact my community through a business. What did it take? What were some of the ingredients that getting over that hurdle of, okay, I'm gonna do insurance again, and I'm gonna open this company, and here's some tweaks. What are some of the determination factors that you had to go through just to be able to launch that?
I got to keep my mission at the forefront of everything I do. And that's impacting the community. Insurance is just the vehicle that enables me to do that. And I was just having a conversation yesterday with a business owner. He opened a franchise business, and he goes, I want to get to the point where we're giving back to the community and doing, making an impact. And I was like, what do you mean wait till you get to the point? You will never get to the point if that's your mindset, because there's always something else that's going to pull your time and attention away. So, I'll never forget my very first check that I wrote to an organization was a couple $100.
Right.
But that was what I had agreed to do, right?
Absolutely.
Now I'm writing checks that have commas in them to organizations. And I'm not gonna lie, it's hard sometimes because I know what I could be using that money to grow my business faster. But that was never my goal, to grow my business faster.
Right.
That was never my goal, to increase net profit as fast as I can. My goal was to impact our community through insurance.
Absolutely.
So I do that first, and it's sacrificial.
Absolutely.
At times.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, you can't wait to become generous. You have to be generous now with what you have, even if that's $10, $100.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how, within the insurance agency, within your business, how do you keep that mission in front of others?
Just telling them anytime I do a proposal, it's the first thing I say, before we get into talking about the insurance coverages and I bore the spots off a Dalmatian, let me tell you why I started my insurance agency. And I go into the story and talk about how we take a portion of every dollar you pay in premium. We reinvest that back into our community to help impact organizations that elevate the human condition, or our military veterans and first responders. I say that every single proposal that I do with a customer, every single time. It's woven into the fabric of who we are, and it can't be pulled out. It's not a thread or a splinter that can be pulled out of that fabric. It is the fabric.
Part of that DNA.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What would you do going back to that 20-year-old JC? What would you say to him, knowing what you know today?
You're going to fail. You're going to get stuff wrong. It's going to hurt, but embrace it. Don't run away from it. Don't hide from it. Chase it. That's what I would tell myself. I was so fearful of looking dumb, and I still battle that today. I can come on a podcast and get in front of a microphone and tell you all this great stuff, but if I'm going to be transparent with my own insecurities, I still battle that today. I don't like to look stupid. Unless I'm in a social setting where I don't mind looking stupid.
Would you say, I'm curious because I'm thinking about these thoughts too, is like, as a leader in our community, is it even that much harder to be a little bit more scared about the fact that if you fail, you're going to do it in front of a group of people?
It goes back to a part of my story that I kind of omitted because I don't like to get too nitty gritty into the weeds. But between 10 and 14, my mom and I were involved in a family situation. She had gotten involved with a gentleman who was very verbally abusive. And, a turning point in my life, I'll never forget this moment as long as I live. And if I can get through this without tearing up, it'll be a miracle. But I was 11 years old. The gentleman said, "Run back in the house to get my keys." I could not find them. And after about 5 minutes, he busts through the door and says, "JC, you are freaking worthless." And I will never forget those words as long as I live. And it fueled me, to be honest with you. It fueled me. But we were in that situation for about 4 years, and I heard a lot of things like that and worse things than that. So that's part of me. I don't like to look stupid. When people are looking to me for in the role that I'm playing, I don't mind admitting my failures. That's one of the things I've learned, is take responsibility right away. If you screw up, be honest about it. Say, "Hey, I screwed up," and do everything that you can to fix it. In business, let's be real, everybody screws up, right? And
Exactly.
that's expected. It's what do you do when you screw up?
That's exactly
That's
right.
what separates company A from company B, or person A or leader A from leader B. I've been involved with a lot of people who, when they screw up, they keep perpetuating that screw up rather than just saying, "Hold up, you're right, I messed up.
Right.
Here's how we're going to fix it." And so maybe to some extent, but I have learned to become a lot more vulnerable than what I was before. And that's part of that maturation process. Vulnerability instantly makes two people able to connect, because, when people can't be vulnerable with one another, if you can't be transparent and honest and open, it's because you're thinking, "I'm going to tell you something that you're going to want to use against me."
That's exactly right.
And so therefore I'm not going to tell you. But when you're vulnerable and open with somebody else, especially men,
Yep.
it's worse with men. Sorry, ladies, but it just is. But when you come out in a situation and are vulnerable and open with another individual, it immediately gives them permission to be the same with you, and a relationship is established.
Absolutely.
And so that's been something I've had to learn to do because of my pride. But I have learned to do that over time, and yeah.
Sounds good.
A lot of times it's hard to distinguish the failure as something that we did from a strategic position of, I think we're going to make this decision, go here. Oh, wrong thing. That's a failure that it's, that's on us. But when it's like the gentleman you mentioned that has a warped perception of who you are, or it's something out of your control, where we do feel like, oh, well, crud, I just looked dumb. In that, there's a distinction there of how we deal with each side of that failure, and man, there's been a lot in this that I'm going to have to process on for a while in there.
I completely agree. I was like, wow, wasn't talking
good.
Yeah,
this is really good.
I mean, this is good, vulnerable stuff. It's like exactly what you said. Like, I think at some level, the vulnerability gives a new opportunity to speak into other people's lives as well as grow. I think it's huge.
Well, I if more leaders in our society were willing to be vulnerable, it'd be amazing the impact that we would have. But there's so many people fearful because it does get used against them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that are willing to use that and take advantage of somebody else as well.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of people that run from that too. Right. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a world that's made up of multiple businesses that is different kinds of leadership, but these are the values that we really appreciate in strong leaders. These are the values that we see other leaders excelling in, like the leaders that you and I know, just these are the people that are just rocking it and just great leaders with vulnerability.
Well, I think it goes back to some of our inherent flaws as human beings, where pride and ego is pretty much the root of just about every every shortcoming that we have. And people's pride and their ego, we've all had people that maybe we looked up to at one point, but their pride and ego would not allow them to be vulnerable. I'm open to the possibility. Always, to everything that I do, I'm open to the possibility that there's a better way to do it. And as I grow my business and I add people to my team, that is one of my core values is this, look, I'm not perfect, and if you have a way that you think might be better, let's get it out on the table and let's discuss it.
Right.
Because I'm probably going to learn something from it.
Right.
I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to seek new answers to old problems.
Vulnerable, humble, always learning, embracing failure. I don't know what. Those are the. What's the right phrase? The not logical ways of being successful in business.
I was thinking keys to success, which is.
Yeah, but they're not
But the not logical part totally makes sense.
Those were not in a book 20 years ago.
No, they weren't.
Maybe they were. JC, thank you for your impact on our community, your thoughtful leadership, your passionate desire to be in community with other leaders, other business here on the South Side. It's a huge impact. And
thanks for coming here and having conversations with us and being vulnerable with us to share this with others that want to learn.
Absolutely.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully that my story will touch at least one person.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's a hope.
If we can just impact just one person, then that makes things worthwhile.
Absolutely.
This is true.
Well, I'm gonna go listen to this again and unpack the leadership gold that was in here. So Thank you again.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, Jason, that was a lot of great information.
Yeah.
On our first podcast.
Yeah, we found interview gold on that one, didn't we?
Right, we did. That so much so I'm not sure what parts we need to make sure we recap on and hit on for my takeaways. So I'm going to throw this question at you.
We really didn't even tell JC a lot about, hey, this is the leading and serving podcast. I mean, he knew kind of what we were doing, but we hadn't fully formulated that.
He just knocked it out.
And then he just leaned right into it. It was perfect.
So tell me, Jason, and so we don't have a lot of time. So give me the short tidbits on some of the things that you think are awesome.
The thing that really hit me was that JC was talking about how he doesn't measure his business based on the bottom line, the net income. You know, that he measures his business more on the impact he brings to the community. And coming from a nonprofit background, that's totally my thing, because nonprofits are generally about the community, and for-profits are generally about the owner's back pocket, maybe, or something like that. And I love how he has integrated those two things, and he fights for the highest good of our community through insurance. I thought that was really cool. I would love to know more businesses. See more businesses adopt that type of mindset in our community of I'm going to fight for people. I'm going to fight for the good.
Well, and let me touch on something that you said, which I thought was very interesting, that JC was talking about. He, at one point he was saying that he wasn't sure he wanted to do insurance, and then he kind of got back into it, and but he's leaned in on it on such a great job and honed in on the thing that has come to him and has been a great avenue for him to be success as a business leader and to serve his community is just amazing, because it's just now he sees it as his new vehicle to be able to serve others in a leadership facet that not everybody else can do. And I mean, I know I can't do it.
Yeah. So, I loved how he said it's not fun to sell you something that we hope you don't use.
Right. Yeah.
Which is but then he turns that into, let's impact our community through this.
Right.
That's cool.
And then his ability to be like, he's trying to measure his success based at some level on what he's giving back to the community.
Right.
Which is a neat observation from the idea of a for-profit business. Right. I mean, kind of contradicts, like, how can we be giving all this money away and still be and
still succeed?
Absolutely. Which is amazing. He's definitely
that was cool.
Give me some great wisdom.
That was cool. So if you want to know more about JC, you can find him at Catalyst Insurance Group. I always have a hard time spelling the word catalyst, so it's I had to write it down. CATALYST. And then insurance is INS, and then group is grp.com. So Catalyst, INS, grp.com. Look up JC and learn a little bit more about what he's doing in our community. And hey, next week on the podcast, I think we've got Eric Vermillion coming in.
Yes, we do.
And we're
excited about that one too.
Looking forward to that. So, hey, leadership is serving, and we hope that you'll take a little bit of tidbit from JC and what we're doing here to go out and impact our community, fight for the highest good of others, serve others, and
super excited about this.
Good stuff. So it's been a pleasure, Chris.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Bye. See you guys.